veterans and friends. John Otte from Pennsylvania Veterans Forward, and I'd like to welcome you to episode 9, the episode dedicated to the Veterans Court Treatment Program. In this episode, we speak with the Bucks County, Pennsylvania Veterans Court Treatment Volunteers, the Carolyn Debuque, who is the original founder of the Veterans Court Treatment Program here in Bucks County, Pennsylvania. She handed the reins over to Woody Hippel, who is now the current Veterans Court Treatment Program coordinator here in Bucks County. And of course, the assistant DA. We'll hear from Caitlin Dryden. She is the prosecutor involved with the Veterans Court Treatment Program, representing the state and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. It's a great episode. It's a great story to tell about a Veterans Court Treatment Program, program dedicated to the assistance for veterans. It's a deferred offenders program, if you will, as some have called it, to assist veterans that have entered the criminal justice system. What an incredible service for veterans and a way for veterans to enter a treatment program, be rehabilitated without it affecting the rest of their life. Incredible story about all three of these volunteers who have been involved in this program for many years. Full disclosure, I'm a Veterans Court mentor as well. Great program. And if you're looking for a way to really have that human-to-human impact on veterans, this is a fantastic program to become involved with as a Veteran Court mentor. So without further ado, let's get right to the interview. Greetings, veterans and friends. John Otte, Pennsylvania Veterans Forward, your host here at Pennsylvania Veterans Forward. And we have a really great show for you today. I am here with the Bucks County Veterans Court Program, Veterans Court Treatment Program team. And they are our very special guests. Been waiting for this interview for quite a while, and very happy to have you here. So I'm here with Carolyn Debuque, who is the original coordinator of the Veterans Court Treatment Program as well. The current coordinator, Woody Hippel, who is our current coordinator on the Veterans Court Treatment Program. And of course, Assistant District Attorney Caitlin Dryden, who is for the state, the district attorney for the state, that also is an advocate of the program. Welcome everybody to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And I really want to thank, first of all, I want to thank all of you for doing what you do. This is an incredibly important program for veterans, especially veterans that have entered into the criminal justice system. It's a trying time for veterans, right? They're at different stages of their lives. Various reasons led them to the criminal justice program, to land in the criminal justice program, and they need this assistance. They need this program, right? Which is truly a gift, and we'll talk a little bit about that during the show. So welcome to all three of you. Thank you for being here. This is an incredible honor to have all three of you here as well. So as is custom during the course of the show, or at the beginning of the show, we ask the guests to give us a little bit of a very brief bio overview of who you are and what you did and how you ended up in the program. Carolyn, we'd love to start with you.
All right. My name is Carolyn Debuque, and I'm a 32 years of veteran of the Air National Guard. I retired as a Master Sergeant, and I was a juvenile probation officer at the time that the Veterans Court became a program. And that's when I got started. About 2014 is when I got involved with the Veterans Treatment Program. And I'm currently retired from everything. So now I'm just assisting vets wherever I can.
Great. And as the original coordinator, I know it was probably a mountain to climb to get this up and off the ground, and all of the work, the incredible amount of work, not only that goes in now, but with all of the setup, right? When this came, when you actually started and had this idea.
Oh, of course, there was a few times I gave up almost, but I just kept going. I knew it was something that was going to eventually evolve into something really special. It just took, as you said, took a long time to be convincing judges, convincing the courts that we actually needed this and that it wasn't a waste of time. And I think as time went on and they started seeing the successfulness of it and how the vets were responding to their treatment, that they were on board, and then it took off from then.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great segue. So even to our current coordinator, Woody Hippel. So Woody, I first met Woody a few years ago in the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and was actually, Woody, that you had encouraged me to be part of the program. So please, love to hear about you. Introduce yourself and a little bit about your background and how you ended up in the program.
Okay, thanks, John. I guess overall, about 37 years military between Reserve of the Marine Corps and I guess about 31 years with the Air Guard. It was something that, of course, military service we never forget. Probably in many cases we don't want to change a lot of things with it. It's certainly an honor to serve then, and it's an honor to serve now, because as mentors, we can continue to keep serving. Background-wise, I was with the Air Guard at the same time. I was with U.S. Probation. Started there in 1974. Yes, I admit it. Mm-hmm. And retired there in 2002. Following that, I began serving with the junior ROTC program in Philadelphia. I was in the classroom, I guess, for about a year at Bartram High. I guess they had enough of me, so they moved me to director. And I had, I guess, about 15 JRTC schools, and retired from that in 2011. Spent time, valuable time, with the Veterans of Foreign Wars. It's been a great experience, great opportunity to serve. And now with the American Legion as well, which is are both great organizations and all help veterans. And that's what we're all about.
Great. Well, thank you, Woody. And again, for those watching, for those veterans and non-veterans watching, Woody is the current coordinator for the Bucks County Veterans Court Treatment Program. So we saved the best for last, Caitlin. So this is Caitlin Dryden, the Assistant State's Attorney for Bucks County Veterans Court Treatment Program. Caitlin, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up, a little bit of your background and how you ended up in, of all things, Veterans Court Treatment Program.
Sure. So, like John said, my name's Caitlin. I'm an assistant district attorney here in Bucks County, and I am the assistant district attorney who is in charge of the Veterans Court here. So I've been with the DA's office about 2 years as an attorney. I interned for 2 years before that, so I was sort of familiar with everyone in the office. And I've been involved with the Veterans Court for a little over a year. I worked under our previous coordinator of Veterans Court, and now it's come into my hands. And so I've enjoyed working with Woody and Carolyn, the rest of the mentors. It's a really fantastic program, and I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And we certainly appreciate your work, especially you don't hear of a lot of the states, the representatives from the states end, right? The prosecutors being an advocate of this program. And we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. Carolyn, I figured we'd start with you and give us an overview of, because you were, kind of one of the founding members of this, and really encouraged and advocated that the county adopt a veterans court. What was the driver for that, the need? Tell us a little bit about what it is, what the court does, what the court program does, and kind of some of the challenges that you overcame during those early years.
Of course. Thank you. The Veterans Court Program or treatment program is a program that embodies veterans who have served in combat. It could be Vietnam, Korea. It could be in the current wars, Afghanistan, Iraq. What the program is mainly for is to help veterans get back into society. They have a lot of trouble when they come home, and it can take years and years and years for them to even recognize that they have a problem. They start getting into a little bit of trouble, whether it's drugs and alcohol, but most of it is central around PTSD or just addiction, trying to forget things that had happened to them in the past. So when they do get into trouble, we embody them. We kind of put them in a bubble, so to speak, so that we can help them to the best of our ability to make sure that they're successful in life and to go on to be a member of the community the way they want to be. And because of their service, we understand that there's a lot of challenges just with that. It's not the same in the civilian population. They have a lot more challenges to overcome, and their crimes are different ones, but most of the time it involves drug and alcohol or DUIs or simple assault charges, which has a lot to do with their PTSD and trying to assimilate back into society. It takes a long time. It's not you come back and then you assimilate within a month or so. It could be years for this to happen. So back in 2010, when I returned back from Afghanistan and Iraq, I was gone for like 8 months. I actually started working with the Lehigh County Veterans Program. There was an ad in the newspaper. I went and interviewed with them and became their mentor. And I was one of the first mentors at Lehigh County. There was about 5 or 6 of us. That's the district attorney there was very involved, and I had worked with him before because I used to work in Lehigh County as a victim advocate. So I already knew him and knew of him. So we knew each other. We had to meet with our mentee at the time in the office, in the district attorney's office first before we did anything else, just to make sure that everything was safe. And I actually started the whole thing about going to court with the mentee. Before, when I was at Lehigh County, they just went to court and they said, well, you don't need to be there. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Can I go? And they're like, well, sure. So when I went and then I started talking to the judge with them, they were like, this is an interesting concept to actually have the mentor come with the mentee and talk to the judge about how they're doing and what's being done. And so I had done that with Lehigh County. So when I was in Bucks County, I thought, do we have something like that here? And the former district attorney, Bob James, was starting something, and it was in the newspaper how he was going to start this veterans court and this and that. And I thought, well, what is it really? Because I didn't hear anything else. So I went to observe it, and I just thought there needed to be a lot more improvement. There could be a lot more things to add to it than what was going on at that time. So I approached Bob James and had a meeting with him and just said, this is what I would do. And I said, I would get a lot of mentors. I'd bring them into the county, train them, and we would have them in the courtroom, and we would assign them to all the mentees, and we would make sure that everyone had a mentor. So that's how that got started. And things just took off after that. I got a whole bunch of mentors, all from the 111th, most of them.
111th, the 111th attack.
Yeah, 111th attack wing. My mentors came from. I had colonels and majors, and it was really a fun time to start that. So we were then in court, and I started thinking, we need to be something separate from just the mainstream court. And we were in a big room with everybody else, and I was like, we need something a little bit more intimate, something where we can really spend the time. And that's when we started getting our own courtroom. Judges started getting on board. Judges started seeing the interaction. I think they really enjoyed Veterans Court compared to all the other cases that they do. They just really enjoyed listening to what we were doing with them, what treatment programs were out there. I think they learned a lot. So that was 2013 I started, and then by the time I retired and Woody came in, everything's been smooth now. I think as far as the treatment programs we have and our mentors that we have, it's a professional court, and everybody is on board, and everyone's doing really well with the program, and I'm just really happy with how things are going so far.
Oh, that's fantastic. And and you know what, you had a vision, you saw it, you saw opportunities, and you were able to influence the county to do something. That's great. A great segue. Caitlin, I wanted to ask you from a assistant DA's perspective, how do veterans actually enter the program? How do you decide who's eligible for the program? What is explained to them? I mean, as I see it, right, in my mind, as I see it, it's an opportunity for them to enter a deferred offenders program, right? And have the opportunity to maybe have, I won't say opportunities that non-veteran defendants have, right? But it's certainly, these are opportunities that they're being afforded because of their veteran status.
Right. Well, it starts from the recognition that Carolyn just talked about a lot. The recognition that through service to the country, a lot of times there are hurdles to assimilating back into civilian life. So that's sort of where the benefit derives from. Veterans apply with a application that they can find on our website. We review their DD-214 and their history in the military. We get an evaluation if there's a substance abuse issue or mental health issues so that we can get them into the appropriate treatments that they need. And all of that is sort of supposed to be screened from early on in the criminal justice process. So we really try to get people by their arraignment or by their preliminary hearing flagged as somebody who's a veteran so that they can start the process of applying and we can start the process of looking into their case. We'll take into account what they're charged with. You know, murder might be a bit of a hard sell in veterans court. Right. But like Carolyn said, a lot of our veterans are people who are struggling with substance abuse or mental health disorder, and that a lot of times presents in kind of repetitive crimes that we see. If there's crimes with victims, we'll talk to victims. Most of the time, victims are more than willing to give a veteran an opportunity through Veterans Court. They want to see a veteran get the help that they need and get connected to the services they need. So that's a really big part of it. It's really a place where all of the wheels of justice, all the hands that are at the table, everybody who's involved works together to do what's best for the veteran.
Yeah, and you know what impresses me is every time I show up, and I'm an active mentor, right? I think we're all active mentors here, Woody, myself, and Carolyn as well. But everybody in the courtroom, whether Caitlin it's for the, as a representative of the people, right, of the state of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, or it's the judge, or it's the defense attorneys, and all the support staff, everybody in there is a veterans advocate, which really impresses me. That's really I hear the various judges say, this is a gift. Please understand that this is really a gift, and that people are in there dedicated and advocating for the veterans' successful completion of the program, and obviously successful beyond the completion of the program. And a portion of that, right? A portion of that really is the relationship between the mentor and the mentee. Woody, I know that just taking over, but you've been a mentor for quite some time now. Help the audience understand a little bit about the relationship and the critical importance of the relationship between the mentor and mentee in the court program.
Well, first of all, John, all mentors as well as the mentees in the program are all volunteers. So it's important to realize that no one has to be in this program. And even if the mentee enters the program at any time, they have the option to leave the program. Now, that probably wouldn't be in their best interest, because the original charges would probably then they'd be subject to them. Whereas if they remain in the program, there's a good likelihood that many of the charges accounts will be null prost, and they'll be sentenced maybe on one count as a general rule. But the beauty of the program is that the mentors have a goal and they have a mission down to each one, and that is to see that when the veteran completes the program, and then proceeds to sentence and completes the sentence, that they are much better off because of the treatment that they received and because of the relationship with the mentors than when they started the program. So they have, if you will, mentors are a trusted counselor that, of course, that they learn to build a relationship with the mentee. Now, realizing every mentee is different. There's no carbon copy. Some come in with, as you know, John, some come in with
your mileage may vary, right? Your mileage varies.
And it does. It takes work to develop a good relationship with your mentee, and they have to learn to trust you as well. But once that is built, in my opinion, the chances for success in going through the program and helping that mentee navigate all these different obstacles that they run into have been tremendously helpful. Now, some might say that, well, you know, that's between the attorney and the mentee, let them do it. But the bottom line is we as caring people, as mentors, really want to see them succeed. So we kind of roll up our sleeves and want to help and take initiative in helping as well. It's a wonderful program. And I think the success that I've seen and heard from previous coordinators have been highly successful overall. I don't know of statistics that say that what is the recidivism rate after a completion. I have no idea of that after successfully completing the program. But I have general idea that the success of the program is upwards of 93 to 95% of those entering the program and succeeding in the program. I can't speak to recidivism after that.
But that's a completion rate, right?
Correct.
Okay. And when we talk about completion rate, that's completion rate of all the requirements that are put on the veteran, right, Caitlin? These are, they could be court ordered to anger management, drug and alcohol treatment, VA, right? Whatever the court determines is an appropriate rehabilitation measure for that veteran, correct?
Yep, that's how the program works. It starts in a pretrial supervision phase, and at the end of that pretrial supervision, which is 6 or 12 months, the veteran would be sentenced to usually amended charges or sometimes an amended sentence, depending on the participation in the program, what the charges were, all the factors that we sort of take into account when admitting somebody to the program come back into play when we're ultimately sentencing them. And then once they complete their sentence, they get to graduate from the program. During the pretrial supervision and the period of probation, they would be ordered to things such as anger management. We have a very strong partnership with Shamrock Reigns, which is an equine therapy place in Pipersville. That's been really helpful and beneficial to a lot of our veterans. We have them in other mental health treatments or substance abuse treatments, community service, almost all of the time, and regular contact with their mentors to sort of help build a community around them to help get them back on their feet and on the right track.
Yeah. And something, this is the, one of my next questions would be, and I had some folks that wanted to know more about the Veterans Court Treatment Program, I think more from the mentor's perspective, but when a veteran goes through this, they, sometimes they may have, even my mentees was like, well, this is something I'm going to get reduced charges. I'm not going to have any impact from this and things like that. Maybe they go from felony to, I don't want to say misdemeanors, but they go to lesser offenses, something, right? Mm-hmm. That could potentially then work in their favor when they go for future employment opportunities. How do you see that playing out in a lot? Is the reduction in sentences it would seem that it's to the veteran's advantage to do this because it will present them with less obstacles in the future, right? As if they were to get a conviction, for for a conviction for the crime in which they were accused of.
Absolutely. And that is actually one of the hesitancies I sometimes have with victims when I talk to victims in cases, that they think, oh, well, this person's just doing this because they want a lesser sentence and they're not actually going to put in the time and actually benefit from it. And I will say my favorite part of Veterans Court so far, and what I've noticed, is that it doesn't really matter at the start if a veteran thinks, oh, I'm not going to get anything from this. I'm not putting my time into this. I just want this lesser sentence, because Veterans Court is going to help whether you want it to or not. I think we send you through these programs. We send you to Shamrock Reigns, which is great, and to your mentor, which is another great resource, and any sort of other treatment facilities. And there are more veterans than there are not that come in and say, I really wish that I had this, when I first got out of the military, or I didn't think this was going to do anything for me, but I really do feel the benefit from it now. We've had the family of one of our veterans say that they were almost thankful that the crime happened, because it put them into this system that was able to get the benefit, and this person was back to who they were pre-military, who they were, who they actually knew. So I think that the treatment is coming for you, ready, whether you want it or not. And we're gonna figure out a way to help you, and we're gonna do our best. And it's not everyone. There are people who slip through the cracks and who just need more than we can give them. But I would say the majority of people, are 93%, I think Woody said, success rate. Those people are getting help, and that's the coolest part of Veterans Court.
Well, that's fantastic.
Can I jump in just a second, John, with that? I just wanted to add one thing, and that's so our audience is understanding of what some of the baggage that some of the veterans may be coming in with, because to enter the program, they are required to have conditions from combat, in many cases, such as TBI, traumatic brain injury, PTSD, military sexual trauma, and as well as military-related drug and alcohol issues. And sometimes, even when the veterans are not combat related, but are discharged veterans and have substance abuse issues, they're accepted into the program as well. So all this to say that it's very important that we realize that these veterans are coming in with these problems that if they're not worked with and treated, that going into a regular court system that may just sentence them as they would any other person without the benefit of treatment is never going to help them really adjust and get them back to where they were. So I just wanted to mention.
No, that's a good point. And I wanted to segue on that, as Caitlin had mentioned. For Carolyn, in the early days, how did Caitlin mentioned the partnership and the true partnership, and I've seen it right with Shamrock Reigns. How did the first of all, explain what equine therapy, a little bit about what equine therapy is as you know it, and how the relationship got established with Shamrock Reigns and what I consider one of the critically important partnerships and components to the Veterans Court program.
Actually, I met Janet Brennan from Shamrock Reigns. The interesting story is that she was a victim in juvenile court. And so when I was speaking to her before her case, she had spoken about how she has this farm with horses, and, first responders come there and they work with the horses. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. I said, at first my thing was, hey, you guys do community service there where I can send some of our juveniles there. And she goes, oh yeah, sure. We could see if we could. So that's how it started. The equine therapy program is where the horses, and it's not what people think, that they go and ride horses. What they do is they work with horses. They take care of this horse. This horse mirrors their feelings. So if you're scared or you're non-trusting, the horse is going to pick up on that. So the horse works with them to recognize the things that they have in them. that need to be healed, so to speak. So that's what the equine. But she has a wonderful staff there. She has counselors there. We have volunteers that go there to help her do whatever is needed on her big farm there, a big ranch. And it's so sick. At first, the veteran thinks Shamrock Range, I'm going to go with horses. Like, what's that going to do? Well, when they start the program, and then they actually complete the program, they end up going on their own. They just go, oh, I love Shamrock, I'm never going to leave. So they either stay as a volunteer or they stay to just be with their horse. And it's a therapy that the horses and the mentee establish a relationship of trust, and that horse helps them get through all the issues that they have, whether it's the TBI or the post-traumatic stress, that they start recognizing their behavior and more aware of their behavior, and the horses teach them to do that. So
that's fantastic. I can tell you that I've been out there a number of times myself and watching the veterans interacting with the animals. And I did, I spent a little time around the horses as well. And you learn to actually understand that the horse knows what you're feeling and is pretty good in tune. I wish sometimes human beings would be able to do that without putting logic into things, right? Where it complicates things and gets in the way as well. Caitlin, from the DA's perspective, how does this deferred offenders program, right? There's a Veterans Court Treatment Program. How does this differ from how other deferred offenders program exists within the county or state?
Sure. So our program is a little bit different than other treatment court programs in that it functions right now as sort of a diversionary program through the district attorney's office. So we start with the period of pretrial supervision, in which the veteran is placed with the requirements that we talked about earlier, and then that is sort of used as mitigation in determining their ultimate sentence. Other treatment courts have more regular meetings. They come back more often. They're a lot more centered on treatment. We're very focused on treatment, but other treatment courts sort of have more team meetings where they bring people to the table. There's more, believe it or not, than we have collaboration between the different parties that are involved. And that's sort of what we're working our way towards now, as our treatment court just keeps growing. Honestly, it's been successful how it is now, and I think there's always ways to keep building on it. So that's what we're working on. Yeah.
That's great. And we talked very briefly about the judges, and I'll put this to all three of you, is that when you, especially Caitlin, as you see the judges, because you're in court, and Woody and Carolyn, you're former probationary officers as well, so you've spent a significant amount of time in court as well. The judge's reaction, right? The judge's treatment of veterans versus non-veterans. What have you noticed that stands out most distinctly about the differences between those two? That's anybody.
I can start if you want. Right now we have Judge Baldy as our Veterans Court judge, and Carolyn and Woody have both been involved longer than I have, so they may even have better insight. But in the time that I've been involved with Judge Baldy, he's always open to hearing what everybody thinks the veteran needs. So the collaboration element that you miss in a regular court setting, that we'll listen to probation and the public defender and the mentor and the district attorney, and we'll sort of discuss, and we'll listen to the veteran for what they think that they need. And then the judge is willing to collaborate, to be the decision maker, but to take into account everybody's position on things rather than just being the ultimate arbiter of court.
Right.
He likes to, Judge Baldy likes to make and often makes statements with the people, everyone in court, directing his comments to the mentee before him and saying that this is not an adversarial type court. He said, I enjoy this court so much because it's not one trying to argue with the other. It's everyone here trying to support you as the mentee. And he says, that is why this is one of my favorite courts, because it is such a positive thing. And as a mentee, you have a real gift in being here.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead,
No,
Carolyn.
I was going to say, when Judge Baldy summarizes that, he says, in a normal courtroom, he'll have the victims on one side and defendant's family on the other side. And he goes, and then you have to take into account what's going on. He goes, we're in veterans court. Everyone's there for the mentee. And he always makes a note of that. Every single person in this court is rooting for you to be successful. And that's when Judge Baldy brought that into the process and actually started talking about that, and he mentions it every time, I think it really hits me to the core, because I'm like, yes, because that's what we were used to out in the battlefield. That's what you're used to when you're deployed somewhere, or even when you're on a drill weekend. It's everybody making sure that everyone's being successful at what they're doing, their job. So I think the mentee actually gets a little like, wow, okay, this is your team. And we're all here to see you through this process, through thick and thin, because we've already been through it before. So he's starting to take veterans court and make it an intimate process where everyone gets to hear a story and take time to hear that story rather than just being shoved, right, next person. We spend a lot of time with each vet, which is, I find to be really awesome compared to when I started. We didn't have that luxury of doing, because we didn't have our own courtroom. So things are moving along in the best way I see.
Yeah, that's a great point. And Caitlin, you as a representative of the people, and you're representing the Commonwealth and the district attorney's office. When you walk in, how does that differ from a prosecutor's perspective? Right? Is that it's prosecution versus defense, kind of us versus them, as I see it from a layman, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not an attorney, and I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn, so I make no claims to that. But from a prosecutor's perspective, you walk in, you're not walking. It seems like you're not walking in, and this goes for everybody who's involved in the courtroom. From my perspective, you walk in as an advocate, actually, for the veteran instead of an adversary.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I'm at veterans court, but I also do regular trial term court. And it's two different worlds. One is adversary, it's making the Commonwealth whole, it's making the county whole, it's making our victims whole. And in veterans court, it's doing that, but in a way that really takes into account what is best for the veteran. So how we can make everyone in the room whole rather than focusing on the victim of a crime. When you walk in before Judge Baldy comes down, it's talking a lot with Woody and with the mentors that come in, and with Janet for Shamrock Reigns, who always comes by, and some of our other treatment providers come and sit in. It's talking to the public defender. Sometimes it's even talking to the defendants with the public defender, because if they're represented, that's just ethics that their representation is there. But it's a lot more collaborative. It's a lot more communication. It's everybody working towards the same goal. And then lately, Judge Baldy's been calling everybody into the back so that we can all have a discussion and give an update, so that he sort of knows where things stand, so that he can best collaborate with the courtroom while sitting as judge. So it's a completely different experience to regular court. It's the favorite part of my job. And, I think it's really benefiting the veteran community of Bucks County.
Yeah, it really does. When you walk in, for our listeners and those that have never been inside a veteran's courtroom or have seen this program work, when you walk in, it really takes a village feel to it. And you see the collaboration, to your point, Caitlin, you see the collaboration between all parties. And you don't see that, not that I've been in my share of non-veterans court, but I have been in non-veterans court, and you just don't see that collaboration. You just don't see that advocacy. and it's really something to watch as it unfolds each time I go. Woody, I wanted to, since you're kind of the current coordinator and things like that, that critical relationship between mentor and mentee. If someone's actually, and we would advocate, we're going to put in a shameless plug for veteran mentees to seek new veteran mentors to the program. Yeah, we don't want to seek veteran mentees, veteran mentors to the program. What are the key characteristics, Woody, from your perspective, that are critically needed if someone is interested in becoming a veteran mentor in this program?
Well, prior service is certainly primary because it's easier to relate to, or a veteran who has been in combat is probably more easily relates to a mentor that has some similar experiences and appreciates maybe a little bit where they're coming from to maybe start the relationship. So there might be a bridge or a basis for trust as they start out. Certainly looking for someone that is a caring person, one that really is invested in the veterans and their rehabilitation, if you will, their ability to move on from the place where they are. It's not a cold relationship, and if people have that kind of demeanor, it makes it a lot easier to relate to the mentor. I would say that you probably need to have a reasonable amount of time that you're willing to invest. Normally, our contacts should be once a week. Now, that may scare some people off, but I'd rather put that out there so people understand before they come in, as opposed to come in and say, "Oh, I can't do this or afford the time." Now, I might add to that. That seems overwhelming, but I'm not talking always about personal contacts that is face-to-face. That can be done by phone. Occasional personal contacts would be well. If you realize that our purpose is to help the veteran stay on track with the requirements that the court has identified as far as treatment, for us to monitor to see if there's any things that, say, come up that we can help them deal with at the time immediately. And a weekly contact helps us to do that. So it can be by phone or, occasionally personally. But the time, the commitment is something that I think and obviously being a veteran is critical things that we're looking for and caring people as mentors.
That's an important point. Even with my own mentees, right? Phone call every week, and then maybe a lunch or a breakfast, right? I love breakfast meetings. A lunch or a breakfast with every couple of weeks, right? To figure out what's going on. And having that establishing that relationship of somebody, to your point, Woody, somebody that has the similar experiences, like it answered, maybe Carolyn answered that before, is that the relationship, right? The relationship that have similar experience, if you have a combat veteran paired up with another combat veteran, they know what he or she is going through, right? They may have had very similar experiences. I was my first mentee was a Vietnam veteran. And of course, myself being an Iraq and Desert Storm veteran myself, was a little bit concerned about that, right? How am I going to mentee a Vietnam veteran? What possible overlap could I possibly have with a Vietnam veteran? And I will tell you, as he and I shared our relative experiences through the different periods of time, we saw the common bonds. We saw the common things that still linger from the times of probably the Revolutionary War up until modern warfare, up until Afghanistan, that there are commonalities that veterans share and common experiences that overlap regardless of the era or the time of the period of service, right? So we became, quickly established with one another. And I can tell you from personal experience, especially for our audience and those that may be considering becoming mentors, it's one of the most personally satisfying experiences that I've ever had. The human to human experience, right? Helping other human beings. Of course, I come from the like you all do, the position of service before self, right? Because we wouldn't be doing this unless we came from that perspective. Well, it's a critically important piece of that. So who's best to explain kind of the process to go through to becoming a mentor, like the application process? What kind of, I'm assuming there was a background check when I went through. I'm assuming that that's either the same or enhanced, right? So what would it take? How would somebody interested in this, who they reach out to become a mentor?
I think Woody could take this one away.
Okay.
We have an application and it goes to Woody.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, first of all, the process before we get to how to become a mentor, the process is that there's a relatively simple application to fill out, and we ask the person to fill out with critical information that allows us to do a background record check to make sure that everything is fine. And if once that is passed, we ask for a certified, not just a DD-214 form, but a certified DD-214 form to assure that the veteran has done and is who he says he is or she is. And that would be done through certification. That certification can be done, I believe it's through the Prothonotary office. Caitlin, am I correct with that? Yes. They actually do free of charge veterans DD-214 certification. So all the veteran needs to do is to take it to the Prothonotary's office. They will make a copy of it. They will certify it. And that will become a part of the county records. So it'll be there for their relatives or them anytime they need it in the courthouse. So that's good. So that's generally the process. With both those things, the DD-214 and the application, and when the record check comes back well, then we'll reach out and talk with them a little bit. And I want to make sure that they understand the commitment that they're making, the time frames, what we would request of them. And if they are willing to do that, then we proceed to training. And I know Carolyn has done training before, and I do training, not only scheduled training, but individual training with new people coming in. So they're ready after that training to actually receive a mentee and be assigned.
Great. Yeah, that's the process, as I said, and I'm for our audience, if you are a veteran, whether you're a combat veteran or not, if you're interested in being a mentor, I will put that a link to that application down in the description as well as I'll point you to. I don't know if it's on the county's website or not. I know it's on the VFW's website, the District 8 VFW website. There's a flyer there, and I think we have to get. I think we have to change Carolyn's contact information to yours, Woody, to yours as well. Great program, fantastic benefits not only to the veteran but to the mentor themselves as well. So, well, this has been a fantastic interview. I want to thank all of you for your time today. Carolyn Debuque, the former coordinator of the Bucks County Veterans Court Treatment Program, the current coordinator of that same program, Woody Hippel, and the Assistant District Attorney, Caitlin Dryden, who is the representative for the Commonwealth and the people in the county, but also very much a veterans court advocate as well. I want to thank all of you for your time today. And I sincerely want to thank you, all of you, each of you, for who you are and for what you do for veterans each day. This is John Otte, Veterans Pennsylvania, Veterans Forward, and I want to thank you for all your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.